Hey everybody, and welcome to another installment of a double feature. This week is Contemporary Film Week, and so we're taking a look at the, I guess it wasn't recently released, but a newer installment of the J.R. Tolkien franchise, the first part of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Part 2 comes out in just about a month, actually, a month from... a few days ago, The Desolation of Smaug, and so stay tuned. We're going to be doing some fun stuff for that. But there you go. Stay tuned for that. But today we're going to be taking a look at, like I said, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, and this is part 1 of the 3-part trilogy. And so let's just jump right into it. Derek, my first question for you. I will admit, I thought the humor. You mentioned in your review that the humor. And the tone of the film didn't really mix very well, and I will admit that it was difficult at some parts. However, I will also tell you that one of the things I really liked about the film was that Peter Jackson is really trying hard to sort of blend these films in with his already made Lord of the Rings trilogy. So we're getting small Easter eggs here and there, and I'm assuming that will continue throughout the rest of the film. And so by the end, you'll have these 6 movies that really fit together very nicely. The tone will be relatively the same, and the characters all are there and the same. And so I was wondering if you had the chance to direct these films, how would you approach this? Having already made Lord of the Rings trilogy, but understanding that The Hobbit is a children's book, how would you propose sort of meshing these movies together to make it sort of a nice flowing saga, if you will?
I would get rid of the idea that The Hobbit is a children's book.
Okay, so you would just completely stick with...
I mean, because the story itself can be told in a very sophisticated sort of Lord of the Ringsian tone.
Sure.
The story itself is a very dark story. If I was Peter Jackson, I would ignore the rounding out the edges and just give this stark, brutal, dark story of warring on a dragon, especially when he's trying to bring in all of this other stuff.
Right.
The Necromancer is coming in with the rise of the ring wraiths. That's not kid friendly by any shape of the imagination.
Right.
And he's bringing in how the spiders came to Mirkwood and all of this stuff. I would assume he's also going to bring in how the Balrog enters Moria, but I don't know on that one.
Right.
So if he's bringing in all of these elements that are going to change the tone dramatically, just stick with the tone. He has a fantastic tone for Lord of the Rings. It's grown up, it's sophisticated, it's dark, and there's humor in there. But it's grown up, adult, dark humor. He can't do kid humor. Get rid of the idea that the dwarves have to have fancy beards and braids and all of that stuff.
Right.
None of the dwarves in Lord of the Rings had the weird hair going on. They might have had
that is true. Gimli.
But that's it. Where did this come from? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Rant over.
Okay. And actually, I'm glad you brought up the dwarves thing, because if you don't mind, just ask a second question real quick. Peter Jackson, in an interview, said that he always was very excited for The Lord of the Rings, but he was always extremely nervous for The Hobbit. And his biggest fear was that he wasn't going to be able to adequately touch on each dwarf throughout all 3 movies, or all 2 movies, and that's one of the main reasons why he expanded into a 3rd movie, is so that we could have more time with the dwarves, more time with Bilbo and Gandalf, and of course, more time to merge it with the Lord of the Rings, as it's very obvious he's doing. So, but what did you think about that? Did you feel like any dwarf was shortchanged? Did you feel like the dwarves even have a story besides Thorin? Because I gotta tell you, when he said that, I was like, oh, really? Yeah. I really feel like you just told us about Thorin. I didn't feel like you told us about anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, there's some dwarves that don't even talk.
Yeah.
I think the big. I don't even know which one he's supposed to be. I've lost count. I just call him the fat one.
Oh yeah, you're right.
He's just the one that eats all of the time, and they throw the sausage at him and make him break the chair, and he's the comic relief dwarf because all the fat dwarves have to be comic relief.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the dwarves. If that's what he's trying to do, I think he's failing in spectacular ways. I don't know. Maybe he'll redeem himself in the second film, but I think the best shot for how I feel about the dwarves was when, the first 4 or 5 show up at the house, and then all of the rest just sort of fall into the door at Bag End.
Oh yeah, right.
That's how the dwarves are. You have your 2 or 3 with speaking lines, and the rest is just a pile.
Follow the door.
Of dwarf. I don't know if you felt like this. I mean, you've read what I think of Oakenshields. Right. There's a little paranoia going on there.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Bit much.
I can't see Gandalf. He's betrayed us.
I'm like, every time? Really? Kid? Dude, stop it.
Yeah.
Everybody's out to betray him if he can't see them. There's the mark of a good leader.
Right.
I don't know. I felt that even Gandalf had his moments of, shall we say, cluelessness as well.
No, that's true.
He was maybe playing the bumbling wizard a bit too well, and I couldn't tell. Do you have your act together?
Right.
Or are you just as confused as the rest of everybody else? I don't know. Did you get that? Did you get that feeling at all?
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I feel like Gandalf stole the show for me. Like I said in my review, I felt like Gandalf had the best lines. I mean, he was the mentor, and that scene with Galadriel, I just loved that scene. I mean, that was just a little too artsy for me with the ridiculously gorgeous sunset in the background and all that, but nonetheless, I just felt like he just had these great lines and just was this great guy. Now, the one scene that I was a little perplexed by was when Thorin's like, "How'd you get past the orcs?" And it looks like Gandalf sees the ring, but we don't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't even know. He just knows something's up. But I was like, oh, Gandalf should probably know, right? I mean, that's one of those moments where it's like he's a wizard. He doesn't know it's the Ring of Power, but he probably knows that it's a magical ring of some kind. And,
oh yeah, in the book he did,
but he played it off so just, dumbfounded, like, ooh, what does it matter? He's here. And I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess that's okay.
That's when you admonish, saying, don't be playing around with magic rings. I want your opinion. I gave my opinion.
Okay.
I think I know what you're going to answer, but let's get it out in the air.
Sure.
That he's definitely changing the story of The Hobbit by adding in all of this other stuff in his attempts to tie everything together.
Right.
Good thing? Bad thing? Is it helping or hindering the story?
I will admit, I do love the prologue. I love the Lonely Mountain backstory and his grandfather's love of gold and the Arkenstone, and that was all very, very fun. But the orc really bothered me. That storyline, I don't know why, but every time he came on screen, I was like, oh, really? We're back to this guy again? Jeez Louise. And so I really was distracted by that orc story. I wish they would have taken that out. And, like you said, Jackson is, let's drag this out as long as humanly possible and make as much money as humanly possible. So we need 3 movies for a 150-page book. So I'm sure the storyline's kept in there so that we have some substance for the second movie besides the dragon. So, but that really bothered me. But I did like the dwarf prologue. I thought that was really fun. Much like I liked the prologue in The Lord of the Rings, I liked knowing, okay, here's the Ring of Power, and it came to be, and Sauron, and so I thought I really liked that. But I would say for this one, I was probably 50-50. 50-50, I was like, okay, I like this, but the other 50 was like, gosh, get this over with. And this is too long, which is funny because I love the extended editions of The Two Towers and Return of the King. Love it. And Return of the King's like 4.5 hours. I mean, it's just this insanely long, but I am not bored one moment. But in this one, I was like, gosh, and there's going to be an extended edition of this? Yay. So, yeah, I was 50-50. I don't know if that's what you were thinking, but I wasn't sold I thought I'd be sold all the way, but gosh, I really struggled to buy into some of those scenes.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I like the way that the prologue was shot, that the dragon is constantly hinted at but never fully shown.
Yeah.
I thought that was well done. I liked that. But I have to say, there was a line in there that bothered me. It was right after they found the Arkenstone, and then greed enters the heart of the king.
Right.
And the line goes something like, when disease enters, bad things follow.
Right.
And I thought, like, oh, okay, we're now stressing this point. It is going to be a theme for the movie. And it was dropped. They're like,
yeah,
here's a big important point. Never mind.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, and hope you had a fun time geeking out with us as we talked about the Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. But let us know what you think in the comment section below. What did you think of the tone of the film versus the humor? What did you feel about Peter Jackson's storytelling techniques and how he's trying to set up these films with the Lord of the Rings film? We would love to hear from you. So be sure to put your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter so you can see all the fun things that are going on with us throughout the week. You can find all those links to our social media and, of course, our website in the notes section below. Thanks again for tuning in this week, and come back in a couple of days so you can figure out what Versus episode we'll be doing. And until then, watch good movies.